Maryam,
I'm an investigative journalist.
We're here asking people about the coronavirus and what they think.
I'm here in the Sinai Desert. Come with me as I investigate.
What does all your other work have to do with Google?
In 2018, we were getting 500,000 unique visitors, and we suddenly saw the traffic go down. I wonder if Google has any links to Big Pharma.
Thank you so much for this, Mary, especially this film, Vanishing of the Bees.
Do they know something we don't about GMOs?
There's a confusion and blaming just Monsanto when it's really we need to look at Bayer and Syngenta.
These poisons aren't just killing bees, they're also killing beings.
I'm saying that this is the virus that didn't cry wolf. Are you afraid of coronavirus?
No.
Graphene oxide, that's what got me killed on Twitter. Banned from Amazon, Instacart, Airbnb, Chase's bank account. She gets really deep into stories, those where everyone isn't willing to go.
Maryam, you have been hot on the trail of Charles Lieber since this case became public.
I'm not a prostitute or a parrot.
Do not let them turn you into lab rats.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Truth Lives Here. Today, I have named the episode Anthrax Deep into the Dust with investigative journalist George Webb. Welcome, George.
Talk to you again. It's been a while since we talked last, so it's great.
Thank you. I want to just set the stage, George, and then pass it on to you. So I was in a Twitter group and someone brought to my attention and asked me to dig into what was going on, I believe November 2020 in Wuhan in regards to Pakistan and China and Desto, which you informed me is basically DARPA's version in Pakistan, and their links or work with anthrax. And then at the same time, in 2019, there were these vaping illnesses near Fort Detrick, and there were also these retiree homes, community homes. So I started looking into anthrax, and 40 pages later, and I came across your work, and then we were in a space and asked you some questions and learned that you have written a book. You've re-released it on Substack. So maybe we can start with you telling me, when did you start looking into anthrax? How many years ago? And share with us the articles, the books you've written.
Okay. Well, it's a little bit of coronavirus is a little bit like a detective story. It's sort of like your fantastic documentary movie, The Vanishing of the Bees, right? You're presented with this problem. This whole species is dying off and you don't know why. And you travel the world to try to figure it out, right? You went to Florida to the beekeepers, and you went to all the places they use the bees to pollinate and stuff like that. And that's kind of what I did with coronavirus. And so there's usually in these pandemics some kind of initiating event, some event where the whole thing starts. And I had said that it was the World Military Games in Wuhan in October 19th, 2019 was where the flyaway pattern using metadata, you're not really looking at any of the reports or anything that of opinions, you're looking at actual heat maps of how it occurred. And there's not a big spread from Wuhan like you would have along train lines and so forth. It was all contained around the Wuhan military games, and then it flew away in a flyaway pattern, like a jet flyaway pattern, to places all over the world. So that was the initial kind of metadata that I started with, and then you kind of build on the story from there. The second piece of this, and why anthrax got included, was the coronavirus and the coronavirus vaccine, the mRNA vaccines especially, but also true for the DNA vaccines, don't hold up well by themselves. There's no protective coating for a vaccine. mRNA is extremely fragile to deal with. So is messenger RNA. So is the virus. It doesn't have a very strong coating. They're very fragile. They need a protective shell to transmit. And that's when I started looking at bacteria. What bacteria providing the protective shell has been used, and what programs exist where they've combined coronavirus with the bacteria. And Whitney Webb found it in summer of 2020. It was called coronathrax. It was taking coronavirus and adding it to anthrax, sort of like, Reese's peanut butter cups. We're going to take the best of the peanut butter and best of the chocolate. We're going to put them together. We're going to have the cover story of coronavirus. All the testing will be coronavirus, but we're going to have all the fantastic qualities we've come to know and love about anthrax. And the Fort Detrick folks have been working with anthrax for at least 75 years. The program with the Pakistanis goes back probably at least 20 years with anthrax, using it as a battlefield way of tagging and tracing terrorists. It scars the lungs, it scars the gut, so it's something that you could pick up at a scanner. So this is the best of all worlds. If you want to make it come from a bat, you can't use a weaponized version of anthrax that we've been using for 20 years at Fort Detrick. Everybody's going to say, hey, that's a weaponized version of anthrax. To create the lung scarring and the metadata that you need. So, hey, let's throw in a spike that will test positive when we do the RT antigen tests, antibody tests, and so forth. And that's really the two came together. So I've written a lot of books that handle different pieces of this, and I can go into those a little bit later. But that's the general outline.
Well, there's a lot of players, and when you look into the anthrax letters and the way it ended and the way it was concluded with Bruce Ivins, and there was NAS who did an independent study afterwards, but it was too late. They closed the case despite all the money that they spent. I just want to say we're on YouTube, and we'll be moving from there just because of the censorship. So I invite people to follow us on Rokfin or Rumble, where we can have what's called freedom of speech. So are we almost at that? Almost
I
at
tweeted
that.
out the Rumble. I tweeted out the Rumble.
Okay. Thank you. So join us, peoples, on Rumble or Rokfin if you have a Rokfin channel. So should we tie it up, Cheese Slice?
Are you going to stop?
So I'm only on YouTube eventually. So we have, five more minutes. So where should I begin? So in regards to Pakistan and China, I believe that the government of Pakistan denied any links with anthrax and Wuhan. So what is the reality?
Initially, and then there was leaks later in 2022 that they did admit that DESTO, which is their Department of Science and Technology, did actually have a program with DARPA. They denied it for 2 years. Everyone said we made it up, etc. But then it was confirmed. And what I had been given was real whistleblowers who were in Joint Special Operations Command, JSOC, who said it was used for 20 years as a tag and trace methodology. So you can see what's happening here. We're going to use it in warfare, have the US government and DoD pay for all the development, then we'll sell it, we'll get the rights to it, and then we'll sell it to the DHS for tagging and tracing deplorables. And then you can combine this with a secondary pathogen to not only have find and fix, they call it, but you can have find, fix, and finish, where actually you can cause a cancer or cause some kind of thing. But the anthrax is a perfect primary, because what it does is it creates basic holes or pores in all the major organs, in the lungs, in the heart, in the stomach, in the all the liver, etc. These are like, how you would do a D-Day invasion. You put holes in the wall that you're going to try to breach before you send in the secondary troops. And that's what anthrax does. And all the players, I just want to make this point why I wrote Anthrax 911 and Corona 911, they're all the same people.
Yeah.
It's Robert Cadillac, David Hone, Stephen Hatfield is on the coronavirus team, Bob Malone, Dave Weiner, Stanley Plotkin, all the same people are involved. Michael Callahan, Daryl Rickey, Daryl Galloway. You can't believe it. How could that possibly be 20 years later? All the same people who are right there for anthrax are the same people involved in doing the emergency order in January of 2020 for remdesivir, the emergency mass formation psychosis, knee-jerk reactions for mRNA, et cetera. How could that possibly be?
It's a revolving door, is alive and well. Can you speak a little bit about the role of a bacteria, whether it's with coronavirus? I mean, when I learned that they have these vats of E. coli to grow their plasmid DNA, just the role of bacteria, initially they were saying it's a unidentifiable pneumonia, right? In Wuhan, they were saying, which I was under the impression that a pneumonia is bacterial, so treating it in a viral way is nonsensical. So,
Yes.
but I feel that the role of bacteria in whatever attacks or experiments is underrated, but is very important.
Yes, that's true. Well, a virus doesn't have any of the machinery to replicate itself. So it cannot possibly replicate itself unless it infects a bacteria. No way. And so, for instance, take the 1918 Spanish flu. It was seen, it started at Fort Riley in Kansas, and it was done at the time of a whole bunch of vaccinations. I can't remember what the vaccination was for, but there was all these horses that were sick with pneumonia. And again, a Spanish flu type virus, which is an influenza virus, can infect a pneumonia, a cell that's been infected with pneumonia bacteria. Now, every time the horse coughs and the water molecules go out of the horse's nostrils, all these American GIs are shipping over for 8 days on a boat where they're all tied in with these horses that they sent from Fort Riley. So it spreads like mad before it ever gets to France. And then it spreads in the same way on the way back. So a lot of the attribution of 100 million people being killed from viruses, and especially Spanish flu, could have been mostly attributable to the pneumonia bacteria. But if you're the Rockefeller Institute, as you mentioned, somebody's going to go, hey, wait a minute, especially after Fleming invents penicillin. Hey, we got an easy way to stop this. We just get a penicillin shot, or we got an antibiotic. Now I don't get trillions of dollars from the NIH. And I need millions, right? So I need to say it's a virus. The Rockefeller Institute said it was a virus, and they got a lot of money. And that's when the virus vaccine game starts. They never mention bacteria for a good reason. There's an easy solution for bacteria. If it's a virus, especially a new and novel virus, they get the cash.
Okay, everyone, we're gonna shut it down on YouTube. So please join us on Rumble. Let me know, Chisais, when we've done with that, so I can speak freely without we can both speak freely.